All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Tuesday, December 2nd, here on your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson. And this is All in Horns, presented to you by Rogue Sports Network for now. So, some big news. We wanted to wait till after football season was kind of wrapped up for the Longhorns, kind of knowing the trajectory as to, where this season was headed. And regardless of the A&M game and Texas's playoff hopes, it looks to be very unlikely, if at a 0% chance of them making the college football playoffs. There's just too many teams ahead of them, too many 2-1 loss teams. We needed ultimate chaos on Saturday. Did not get the ultimate chaos that we needed on Saturday to give ourselves a better chance. Still not a great chance, but a better chance. And those scenarios didn't really play out. So with football season wrapping up, we are actually going to go under a couple of changes in this podcast. First things first, Rogue Sports Network still affiliated with 365, but this will be presented to you by 365 Sports moving forward. Now we still got to get the branding and all that stuff done and taken care of, but it's essentially just under new management, but under the same company. I guess it's like under a new umbrella. So not really a ton of changes in that aspect, but just you might see 365's logo instead of Rogue Sports' logo down there at the bottom. So it'll still be All in Horns. You can still like, share, subscribe. It'll still be the same channel. So undergoing those changes coming in within the next couple of weeks, as well as Jake and I's schedule. So football season was going to be the last time that we go through and do a 5-day-a-week episode, daily episodes. We're going to move to 3 days a week. And it'll probably look, with basketball season and them playing most of their conference games Wednesday nights, and then on Saturdays, it'll probably look Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, with us being able to mention and talk about the Wednesday game on Thursdays. Just kind of depending on what the recording schedule looks like. But we're going to drop a couple of days, free our schedules up in our personal lives, but also just the news cycle not as heavy. And just basketball season, people want to know about the games, and I think that that's fair. So we'll primarily be covering the results of the games and the games that are happening throughout basketball season, women's basketball as well. Obviously, still have this home stretch for volleyball and their hopeful championship run through the postseason. And so, that's just kind of where we're at right now. It won't be 5 daily episodes throughout the week, but we're going to move to 3 episodes throughout the week. And then on the Cowboys channel, that'll also remain the same. We'll still do, or try to get our 3 in, because with the Cowboys schedule with this football season, they haven't played a regular week's game on Sunday. What feels like maybe over a month and a half without it having like a Monday or a Thursday night game to follow it.
Yeah, I don't think we've had consecutive, just regular Sunday noon or 3 o'clock window kickoff like back to back since like week 2-3.
Yeah, on the Cowboys channel, we've gone Monday Night Football, bye week, Monday Night Football, Sunday football, Thanksgiving football, Thursday Night Football coming up. So no consecutive, just Sunday regular back-to-back weeks with regular Sunday scheduled football in what feels like a month and a half. I think it's probably been about that. So, okay, cool. So there's just a little bit of housekeeping. Just keep everybody keep their whistle wet. Is that the whistle wet? Is that what the saying is? That sounds gross. That doesn't sound right.
I don't
wet
like
my
it.
whistle. I'm gonna wet my whistle.
Okay, let's move on before this gets unhinged.
But anyway, so we're going to start this week. Again, we'll have 3 episodes this week. So we're going to start this week. All right. Jake, let's talk a little bit of Longhorn recruiting news, and then let's get to some of the nationwide things. Obviously, this episode is going to be airing tomorrow afternoon before they release the college football. Well, obviously the college football playoffs are not going to be settled. They still have conference championship week, but we'll have a conference championship week episode in terms of our predictions coming up shortly. And we'll probably have to make some underdog picks for that as well. So, but Jake, let's talk a little bit of the Longhorn recruiting news. Big flip, 4-star defensive end out of Temple High School. That is where I reside. Those were my rivals growing up. I grew up going to Belton High School, but I currently live in Temple, Texas, where Jamarian, what's the last name?
Carlton.
Carlson. I should have close enough to Carlson. I should have known. But Jamarian Carlton flips his commitment from Baylor to Texas. And then also Jamarian Vincent, another Jamarian, a Baylor commit, who was a star corner / wide receiver athlete at Waco Connolly, flipped his commitment from Baylor to Michigan over the weekend as well. So Baylor losing a couple commits, some local home talent to outside talent. Well, I mean, Temple's right in between Waco and Austin. Really not that much of a difference. But still, nonetheless, Texas gets the big flip. Texas is on a flipping streak right now. It seems like every commit they've got over the last, 2 weeks has all been flips from either Minnesota or Baylor or whoever. But a defensive end, Jake, can never have too much depth at that position.
Yeah, someone the Longhorns initially wanted. They were recruiting him hard whenever he had ended up committing to Baylor. Originally thought he was a Texas lean, then went to Baylor. So they just kind of stayed on him, as this staff does. If they really want the player, they will stay on them. That doesn't mean they'll always flip them, but in a lot of the cases, it feels like they do. They did get this flip, and then I think some of those other flips we've seen have just been, senior season evals, where they weren't necessarily on the player before, and then saw something they liked, recruited them later down the road. Also, if you look at it from likely a I don't want to say cap management, I guess salary, NIL management
Sure.
perspective, like the tight end commit from Minnesota is probably a lower investment with higher upside. And so I think that's a lot of what high school recruiting is going to be now. You don't see as often in the NIL era, especially now with the revenue sharing kicking in to schools. I don't think you're going to see as many just number one classes that are just far and away above every other class. Feels like 5 stars are much more evenly distributed now because all the schools can do it. And so even some of the smaller schools. I think a lot of high school recruiting is going to be going for those big fish, and then kind of going for, the 3-star guys that are more developmental, that aren't going to cost as much, but want the opportunity to play at a big school and develop and end up playing there and then go to the NFL. You're going to see a lot of that in recruiting classes, especially towards the end of the cycle, where you're just trying to kind of close up the class and then make sure you have money to go into the transfer portal. Because unless something drastic happens with the transfer portal, I know we're moving to the one portal opening era, which is just more of a helping the players and coaches simplify things when it comes to the portal. But until we see something like contracts or something along those lines, and it's just essentially free agency, I think you're going to see high school recruiting almost tamper down a little bit as far as going for those just top crazy classes. I think Texas probably looks at the class they brought in last year, that was number 1 class in the nation, and goes, maybe we would have been better off taking the 4th class in the nation and then going more aggressive in the portal and not, spending a ton for guys that aren't going to touch. You're not going to have all your true freshmen touch the field, regardless of whether they're a 5-star or not. And so I think a lot of teams are still.
It might pay dividends in a year or two from now
if you retain them all. That's the other thing to it.
Yeah.
So
and Sark has been really good at retention. I'm not going to fault him for it. It's not like Texas is yet. And now, when that day comes, God forbid the sky will be falling if once a big commit decides to flip from Texas, or a second-year guy from Texas who's been a big-time starter or big-time player flips and decides to transfer somewhere else in the middle of his Texas career under Sark. God forbid that ever happens. The fan base will absolutely have a complete meltdown. Just believe you me. But in terms of the transfer, we're also going to see teams, Jake, where Vanderbilt, for example, Texas Tech, for example, are going to heavily dive into a portal year where they think that they can go invest more into more players into a single portal year and hit on some of those guys if they think they're a few missing pieces away and they can pay big money to get those big names out of the portal to kind of complete their roster. Where Texas Tech, they felt like they were, a couple of big signings away that they were never going to be able to get in recruiting. Vanderbilt, the same way. You're never going to compete with Tennessee and with Auburn and Alabama and LSU in your pipeline of getting those types of caliber of players to elevate your roster when you have a quarterback like Diego Pavia and a talent like Eli Stowers and some of the guys that you have on the defensive side of the ball. Hit the transfer portal, and go all in there and not necessarily spend as much of your resources in recruiting instead of going into the transfer portal. So again, it's a lot of what these coaches deem to be the best fit for their program. Now, Sark, he has said that he wants to build his program through recruiting and through guys that are committed to the program. And I do think that has a longer lasting success rate than just hitting these 1 or 2 year guys out of the portal. But that doesn't mean that you can't decide 1 year, hey, going into 2026, we think Texas is going to be a pretty damn good team. You might be a couple of offensive linemen away. You're not going to get that at the recruiting level in terms of just day one starters ready to go. Grab 3 guys that are juniors and seniors that have experience playing in the SEC or Big Ten and build your roster from the trenches through the portal.
Yeah, or even you look at Oregon, they took that lineman from Texas State that I think everyone wanted Texas to go get. Supposedly they tried to. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's been a stud at Oregon. You go out and you get those top G5 guys because you can't get SEC guys really because of the SEC transfer portal rule.
You might this year because of the amount of coaching changes in the SEC.
Now the coaching changes does change things this year. Cam Coleman is going to be heavily talked about. Jaden Ball is going to be heavily talked about for Texas.
There's going to be a lot of guys either out of LSU, Auburn, Arkansas. There's going to be a lot of SEC guys out. Ole Miss that are going to be coming in.
It's going to be a cluster of a transfer portal in the SEC.
If you thought last year's transfer portal was chaos and people were like, oh, this is just too much to deal with, this year is going to get insanity. I mean, you still got Penn State guys from the James Franklin situation going on. You haven't even gotten all your coaches fired from ACC. I mean, we're looking at an ACC with Duke and Virginia in the championship. You don't think there's going to be some coaching changes in that conference?
I wish you didn't bring that up because I'm not going to talk about it now. We'll talk about it on Thursday. We're not going to talk about it now. Embarrassing. We're not going to talk about it now, though. But yeah, no, the transfer portal this year is going to be crazy. And like you said, Sarkisian has said that he wants to build from the high school recruiting class. I still believe that's true. I also think this year has probably made him rethink of going, okay, if there are uncertainties at positions where you're going to have guys starting who haven't started before, maybe I'd go more aggressive in the transfer portal. Unless it's just a guaranteed stud, like it is. Like at wide receiver, they probably still don't go aggressive last year, even if they took a more aggressive approach to the transfer portal, because Ryan Wingo felt like a surefire stud. They still got Emmett Mosley out of the portal. Honestly, wide receiver core came along as the year went on. A lot of the issues really stemmed from the O-line, but I do think Texas will be more aggressive in the portal this year and in other years moving forward, because obviously the goal for 2026 is going to be to win a national title. They went 9-3 this year with arguably one of the best resumes in college football. They have a better resume than the majority of the teams that are going to end up making the playoff when it comes to top wins, especially top 10 wins.
Yeah.
And if you look at it and you go, wow, if maybe we're just some more aggressive in the portal, we probably beat Florida at least, and then you're in. And maybe even beat Ohio State in that week 1, where, Ohio State wasn't playing at the level they are now as well, just like Texas got better throughout the year.
Sure.
But yeah, I think we'll see Sark be more aggressive in the portal while still building the foundation from high school recruiting.
All right, Jake, let's go ahead and hear from Underdog, get some picks ready during this break, and then we will give you some of our favorite entries of the week coming up. Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code HORNS to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code HORNS. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games. 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. All right, Jake, I've got a Thursday night football game that I'm looking at in terms of one of my entries, and take, leave, substitute whichever picks you like, but this is the entry that I've got already in for Thursday night football for the Dallas Cowboys and Detroit Lions. I've got David Montgomery higher than 36.5 rushing yards. I've got Jake Ferguson higher than 38.5 receiving yards, and CeeDee Lamb higher than 75.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I think I would add on to that with probably a Jared Goff higher than 254.5 passing yards. You still feel like that's probably the weakness of this Cowboys defense. I feel like Jared Goff always plays pretty damn well against the Cowboys defense as well.
He does.
And he plays well at home too. That would be my addition to your card. I liked pretty much all the other picks that you had on your entry.
I was thinking, Pickens has been a pretty solid entry for me, and I think he was at 78.5, which is 3 yards higher than Lamb. And I just saw the value. I was like, well, if they think Pickens is going to do that, if they think Pickens is going to be a higher yardage player than CeeDee Lamb, then why would I not take the undervalued Lamb over the pick? And I'm not saying the Pickens entry would be. And
Pickens has gone down to 77.5 now.
Okay.
Did bump down a yard. I think other people saw what you were seeing.
Yeah. I just was like, I mean, it's still CeeDee Lamb. If he's going to be considered wide receiver 2, I might as well get the value there. So
yeah, and he's coming off a big game against the Chiefs. You feel like he kind of moved on from his if he's not playing against the Eagles, he doesn't really have the issue, honestly. He's like 10 drops in those 2 games.
Yeah, 100%. And Jake, we'll still work on getting an all-in horns entry every week, just because I like those. I think they're fun. We haven't been successful at all with them, but I do like them. I do think they're fun. All right, Jake, let's go ahead. Let's talk a little Lane Kiffin. Let's talk a little bit of the coaching changes, some national news here. That's about all the Longhorn football news that we've got for you at this point. Again, college football playoff rankings will come out later today, right? On Tuesday night.
Yeah. We can talk about this more, the whole discussion a later time. There's one question I'm just dying to ask you related to Longhorns and playoffs. Just one question. I want to keep it at this one question. Why? So you and I have discussed this a lot about Texas not deserving to make the playoffs in the question of the non-conference scheduling. But my simple retort to what you've said about it's the Florida loss and not the Ohio State loss, which is true in a vacuum. But it's also true if Texas played Rice week 1, played out the rest of their schedule the exact same, they would unequivocally be in the playoffs without a doubt. Because they would be ranked above Oklahoma, who they beat head-to-head. Even with the 9-3 record as it is, why does Notre Dame deserve to be in over Texas?
That I don't know if I can give you an answer for that, because I'm perfectly fine with I would be perfectly fine with Notre Dame not getting a spot and Texas grabbing that spot as a 3-loss team. Now, obviously, that is the most biased answer. People are going to look at the podcast and say, "Well, duh," obviously. But I'm looking at it as a quality win over your schedule opponent. You lost the only 2 ranked. Well, oh, God forbid you give them a Pittsburgh road ranked win.
We'll give them the home win against USC is a legitimate ranked win. And the Pitt is not a ranked win. That was a conspiracy.
USC. Yeah.
That is their only quality win.
But
by the way,
USC is the only quality win that you've got to hang your hat on. And Texas has 3 top 10 wins over Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M, a team in which Notre Dame also lost head-to-head to at the beginning of the season. Again,
At home.
Jake, if there was a team to get bumped out of the playoffs and Texas take their spot, I would without a doubt be perfectly banging on the table for that team to be Notre Dame.
Okay. I just wanted to have the question because
I
if
saw
you
something that was
said Notre
pretty.
Dame did deserve it because they only had 2, I would have fought back heavily.
No,
with you on that.
I saw something that I actually really like the idea of it. Obviously can't happen, but I do like the idea of it. Is what if Texas and Notre Dame just played on conference championship weekend, winner goes to the playoffs?
I would love to see them add in some type of play-in game to get into the playoffs. Now they're just going to extend it to 16, so I guess that will be the plan because Texas would obviously be in an extended 16-team playoff this year. But yeah, I would love to see that play out because I'm pretty confident Texas would win that game. To be honest with you, I think it's a good matchup.
So someone goes,
Texas.
if you want to get views and you want to piss a lot of people off and the discourse on the internet go absolutely nuts,
it would
just
be crazy.
put these two teams on the same field on conference championship weekend and let them go at it. And dude, I think that would be great. I think it would be great football. It'd be great for views, and I think the discord over the internet would be at an all-time high.
Oh yeah, I mean the discourse online with the Lane Kiffin stuff, like we're about to get into, has already been crazy, and so that'll only add into it. But this Lane Kiffin stuff, I just wanted to ask that question. I know we could dive into a 50-minute conversation easily about the playoffs, whether Texas is deserving or not this year. We'll save that for a later time. Everyone's discussing it right now. We'll come in and discuss it a little later on, especially after conference championship weekend shakes out. But Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin, so Ole Miss hired him, kind of knew he wasn't a great guy, but defended him to the ends of the earth until he has now left them. And now, I don't know if you've been on X, everything app, it all happens on X very much. You got Ole Miss fans leaking alleged text messages, Snapchat messages, Instagram DMs, crazy stories that I'm not going to comment on because I don't know if they're true or not, but just all this crazy stuff about Lane Kiffin and co-eds and all this stuff. And then you have a bunch of basically Lane Kiffin pulling off a heist, like leaving Baton Rouge. Ole Miss threw his clothes out to the parking lot. He's leaving, getting on a private jet to go to Baton Rouge, has coaches showing up with him. Ole Miss is trying to figure out who's leaving, who's staying. I'm still not sure who's all left and who might leave at the end of the year that's keeping it under the table.
Well, there was apparently a story that came out as well. And again, this is all speculation. I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on this in about 10, 15 years. Like, I really can't wait for whatever documentary that they're going to have on Lane Kiffin's career. Let's mind you, this isn't the first time he's departed and been on bad terms with the team that he's left. Tennessee, USC, Oakland Raiders. There's been a lot of Lane Kiffin history in terms of going from one job to the other job. Okay. This is just a long list. So the Lane Kiffin documentary coming out in about 20 years is going to just be sports gold.
Let me throw out this crazy idea to you. Lane Kiffin does a great job at LSU. LSU's loving him. Okay. 3 years down the road, DeBoer or different coach out at Alabama. Alabama gets Lane Kiffin, just like they got Nick Saban. And then the LSU fan base will turn around because you had the videos of Lane Kiffin leaving the airport in Oxford, and you had them flipping him off, chanting at him. A guy who just took him to the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying I don't get it. I get it because this is a whole weird situation. You now have a coach who's not going to be coaching the team that he led to the playoffs, and it's an SEC team. It's not Tulane. Yeah. And then you have, which allegedly he wanted to finish the season out, and the players wanted him to finish the season out, and Ole Miss is not letting him. If that's true, to me, that's crazy. Just let him. I get he's going to in-conference school, but you have a chance to win a national title, and I feel like now you don't.
Yeah, well, that and also apparently there was a meeting that was had with him and his players, and he wanted to address his team, his staff, his players before the news came out, so they heard it from him and not from X. Apparently, boosters and people close within the program said it wasn't him just telling them that he's going to LSU. It was a 2-hour-long sales pitch of those who want to come with them, come join him. And he'll just gut the whole program. I mean, dude, there's a lot of speculation out there, and there is a lot of mistrust between Kiffin and the Ole Miss entire athletic program and those involved in the program, whether they be boosters or whoever. And yeah, things are kind of strange. Things are very ugly. And again, it's just a long list of Kiffin departures that just is on complete brand of what he's done in the past. Now, I will say, to your point, him claiming that he wanted to coach the rest of the season out, I do believe that. Why wouldn't you want to coach in the playoffs? He's never been to the playoffs before. Why wouldn't you want to take this team to the playoffs and just see what you can do? You know, I'm pretty sure they're going to be hosting a game, are they not? Like, they're going to be one of the top seeds that are going to be hosting
if they're not a bye.
If they're not already a top 4 team.
Well, they're playing. No, it's Alabama and Georgia. The SEC got so messed up this year because all the top teams played all the bottom
stuff.
teams. Yeah. If not a bye, they're 11-1 SEC team. Like they have a chance for a bye depending on how everything shakes out.
I could see if Georgia loses to Bama for a second time in this year. Why would you not think that Ole Miss deserves a higher seed than Georgia?
Yeah, you would argue they lost to them, but they did lose at Georgia. And I do think home field matters. It does matter, especially in SEC play. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to get a bye anymore because I think the committee has basically said they will consider the fact that they won't have their coach, just like they considered the fact that Florida State didn't have their quarterback that year. And so I think it'll be very interesting. I imagine they will still host, but I could see them dropping them to where they don't host.
Man,
it's if they had a second loss, I think the committee would drop them out of the playoffs completely and even put in a Texas over them. And I'm not saying that's the right choice, but I could see them just punishing them for Lane Kiffin leaving. So it's a very messy situation because you had the airport video of Kiffin leaving and then people getting on the jet. You can hear the fans trying to say, who is that getting on? Like trying to figure out which of their coaches are getting on the jet to head to another school when they're getting ready for the playoffs. And then you had the videos of all the LSU fans lined up at the airport cheering them on. That had to be crazy for him. Getting on and just getting the middle finger, every bad word thrown your way, and then get off to a bunch of cheers and people excited to see you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, then on top of that, it's such a strange and bizarre situation to be in for Lane Kiffin. But yeah, I don't know, man. It'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, LSU is going to be losing Garrett Nussmeier, a quarterback. Ole Miss happens to have a kind of young, up-and-coming, possible Heisman candidate going into next season that was heavily recruited and then was started over a guy who had won the job previously in Trinidad Chambliss. And he has a great story. Lane Kiffin has loved that story. And if he enters the transfer portal and goes to LSU, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. I just wouldn't be. I think Chambliss is probably going to be the LSU starting quarterback next year. And Ole Miss is going to have to be starting. Depending on who they bring in, they do have the funniest thing. They have the chance to do the funniest thing ever and hire Brian Kelly. That would just be the funniest thing I've ever seen in college football. They won't do it.
It would be a terrible hire.
Yeah, it'd be about as successful as it was at LSU. But I'm just saying it would be funny.
It would be funny. It just would be a terrible hire. Supposedly they might just actually hire their D coordinator who's taken over.
Yeah.
They really like him. It'll be interesting to see how many people leave. Because I think that the booster base for Ole Miss is going to be very motivated to pay whatever it takes to keep players just to spite Lane Kiffin. And so it'll be interesting to see how that works out. The other wrinkle to all of this, and this doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, I just find it very funny, and I don't know if this will ever happen again in college football. If Ole Miss wins a playoff game, obviously there's incentives in every coach's contracts. Lane Kiffin would get money from that. Now he wouldn't, right? Because he left Ole Miss. That contract's null and void. No, LSU has agreed to pay him the incentive pay from whatever he would have gotten from Ole Miss for how far they go in the playoffs. And that is just, to me, that is the LSU athletic department going, we got money.
Yep.
And we're giving you the bird right back like you gave our new coach.
We got FU money, and they're saying FU to Ole Miss. Now, Jake, does Texas play LSU next year?
That's a heck of a question. I wish I had the we should have kept that schedule saved in our docs.
Yeah, I've got it somewhere. Just matters where it is. Texas State week 1, Ohio State week 2, UTSA week 3, Oklahoma, and then at LSU following the Oklahoma game. And then you're at Missouri, then you got 3 away games back to back, technically 4 with the Cotton Bowl, at LSU, at Missouri.
Well,
at
I don't think those
Tennessee.
are in order yet.
Oh, okay. No, they're all
Yeah.
home and away. Gotcha. But yes, at LSU is on the schedule. But your non-conference games are set in stone. It's Texas State week 1, Ohio State week 2 at home, and then UTSA at home. So there's
a few big road trips next year with Tennessee.
And then they obviously have Texas A&M at the bottom of the schedule. But you have Ole Miss and you have LSU. So either way, you're playing Lane Kiffin for the first time.
Yeah. Good chance I go to that Missouri game as well next year, since I have a buddy who's a big Mizzou fan.
Could be a lot of fun. I think at Tennessee would also be a great game to hit up.
Tennessee, LSU, both great places I'd love to visit. I know they play at A&M next year too. Honestly, I've been to that stadium once. I have no desire to hang out with those goobs again. So
I've been to that stadium. It wasn't for a Texas game. I would like to go in all burnt orange and stand in the crowd and just do this while they're trying to saw me off, which they would never do. So, but yeah, next season's going to be an interesting season for Texas and for a lot of these programs, it's not like a complete rebuild for a lot of these teams, but Texas plays. Let's see how many teams they play that is going to get a new head coach. LSU, Arkansas, Florida, Ole Miss. So right there, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 teams out of their 9 conference games.
And the scary thing about that is with the transfer portal era, those schools that doesn't mean they're going to be easy prey next year. I guarantee you LSU won't be. So those are going to be tough games just because you can rebuild pretty quickly in the transfer portal era. So it'll be interesting to see how that how all that works out.
Yeah, no, it'll be very interesting. And Missouri, I imagine, will be a much improved team. Perbula will be coming back. Now they won't have Ahmad Hardy. I believe he's going to the NFL draft, but anyway, so it'll be interesting. All right, Jake, let's go ahead and wrap this episode up. And we appreciate everybody listening. Please like, share, and subscribe again. New episode schedule coming out, new branding coming out, some good changes. I think all good changes. I don't think the quality of the show is going to go anywhere. So we appreciate you listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. That's Jake Jimerson. I'm Tanner Carlson. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.